Ready to make a start when you are, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to this hybrid meeting at the Democratic Services Committee, which is open to the press and public. We welcome the use of the Welsh language in meetings. I've had no requests for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak, and remember to keep your microphone muted when you are not talking. May I remind members that the statutory guidance made in Section 4 of the Local Government Wales Measure 2011 and our formally adopted hybrid meeting policy, any member attending a meeting remotely must be able to be seen and heard by the members and officers who attend the meeting, as well as by the members of the public viewing the meeting. So can I ask that you all please use your cameras for the duration of the meeting? Please be aware that this meeting is being transcribed, only for the purpose of producing minutes. This transcript will be deleted once the committee approves the minutes. The transcript should not be downloaded by anyone other than Democratic Services. So thank you for that. Moving on to the agenda item 1. Dominique, do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. We've had apologies from Councillors Rose Seaborn, Colette Thomas and Jane Watkins.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else got declared? No. We'll then move on to item 2 then, which are declarations of interest. Is anybody any interest to declare? None? That's brilliant. We'll then move on to item 3, which is the minutes of the Democratic Services Committee held on the 11th of September 2025. The members state whether they have anything to raise in relation to the minutes, and if not, I will take them as approved. And okay, we're all approved of that. Thank you. We'll then move on to item 4, which is the action sheet. Dominique, is there anything you want to raise regarding the action sheet?
No, nothing further from me, Chair.
And anybody else got anything to raise on any of that? No? We move on to item 5, which is the appointment of the replacement head of Democratic Services. Andrew Lovegrove, Strategic Director of Resources. Would you like to present the report for us, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I will do. Good morning, good afternoon even, councillors. The paper in front of you is about the designation of the Council's Head of Democratic Services. This is a statutory post, as you can see from the paper. There's legislation that requires us to have such an officer in harness so that we can actually deal with the Democratic Services items. The proposal is that we appoint the Business and Democratic Support Services Manager into this role. As you can see in Section 4, there's quite a comprehensive list of activities that the officer has to carry out. And Tom, as we know, is a well-qualified, well-experienced officer who's very capable of carrying out these proposals. So I wasn't going to say anything more, Chair, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any members got any questions they'd like to ask Andrew? No? Ron, did you want to come in? Turn your mic on, Ron.
I was forgetting that. It's not a question on Tom. I'm fine with that. And it's the fact that we're appointing somebody now, but as members, and I've been happening on for a few years now, when we lose chief officers and we're replacing them, nobody knows anymore who's who and what's what. And I mean, we should take this through Democratic Services. We should, as members, at least have an email, so-and-so's left, because we ring up sometimes and they say, oh, good Lord, they went months ago. No, but we, as members, we're like, well, we mushrooms, aren't we? We know what that means. And we should know as members who's going or who's gone, because since, well, I mean, I don't like doing it this way. I mean, I love coming up to the office or whatever. We never do it anymore. And we never see anybody. We don't know who's who. We don't know who's running what. I met an officer the other day. Didn't have a clue. Never seen him. Didn't know who he was. Because we don't know anything, Andrew. Nobody tells us anything anymore. And it's not quite right, I'm afraid to say. Members, as members, we should know who's coming, who's going, when they've had new officers come in. Nobody knows who they are. When we're in council sometimes, full council, you look over, who's that side, who's that side? We don't know a thing, you know. So that's all I want for over. As members, we should have some information when somebody leaves the authority, so we know, that's all. But with Tom, I got no problem at all with that. He's a good boy. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
If I just,
do you want Councillor Ashley to come in and you're going to have them both together, Andrew? Would it
that'd be
be
helpful.
easier?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, Ron raises a very good point, because we had a seminar yesterday about who do we go to about matters pertaining to councillors in if we're getting harassed. And I used to know who it was. That particular officer had left, and I asked the chair, funnily enough, who it was, and he said I wasn't sure. So there's a good example of responsibility. Ron, you are totally right on that. Responsibility of somebody we're new and comfortable with, and that appertains to the councillors. So actually, that's a very good one. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for that.
I don't know what you think on that, Andrew, but that was somebody I used to go to quite often when there was issues like that.
So, why let Councillor Parish come in now? Why let Councillor Parish come in, and then probably easier to answer them all in one hit, Andrew, rather back and forth.
Happy with that, yes.
I just want to say I support two members of what they've said now, because I can remember the days when an officer was going, it would be at the end of a report or something, you know, our agendas, and then if a new one was coming in, it'd be the opposite. Then we'd say, you know, we would know who's coming, what their names were, and why, you know, they're in that job. So it can be done. I don't know why it was stopped, really, by this council. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with everybody. It might be worth, you know, some sort of revised list to have the updated list of everybody that needs to be contacted on behalf of members. I don't know whether that's a suggestion to maybe carry forward. So, Andrew, would you like to come in and regard them questions?
No, thank you very much, members. And I recognise your concerns. I can't talk about individuals in their individual circumstances, but the previous post holder, he left. We had a conversation and agreed that he could leave without working his full notice period. I won't go into the details, but that's why it was all of a sudden on there. So I apologise for that, but sadly these things happen at times on there. In terms of who's the contact person, I think you make some valid points, because we do have staff changes, and as we're moving into this federated arrangement, there are further posts that are changing, and there's Director of Economy in place that we're currently out to advocate for, which will be a joint post. So I think it's a fair point you're making. I'll go back and have a talk with colleagues about how better to communicate with yourselves who the contact people are, because you need to know, because you're contacted by my residents, and you know who to speak to, and those sort of things. So that's a fair point. We'll have a look at that for you.
Thank you.
All members happy with that? So Andrew will go back and come back to us. That's pretty.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
And it's a good point raising it, Ron, to be honest.
Thank you.
The recommendations are on page 13. Has everybody read them? If not, I will read them out. Are we happy to agree those recommendations?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's all. That's gone through. Everybody's agreed that. Okay, Andrew?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next one is item 6 for Tom to come back in, because he was in the mention of the last one, so he wasn't on the meeting. So if somebody could tell me when Tom is actually on, then we can do item 6.
Thank you, Chair. He's just on his way.
I see him coming in now. We'll let him sit down first and get a bit complacent. Are you ready, Tom? Or
Thank you, Chair. Have we moved on to the
Yeah, but we're on
survey?
item 6 now, which is your one.
Okay.
If you'd like to present a report to us, then we can go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. I'm pleased to introduce the Member Survey Report for 2026 for your input before agreeing its content in advance of the survey being circulated to all members this year. Specifically, I'd like to invite comment on the attached draft member satisfaction survey and to ask members to suggest any changes or additions they consider appropriate. This report sets out the draft survey questions we propose to circulate to all members with the aim of gathering feedback on the support provided by the Democratic and Member Services team. As you know, the annual Member Services Survey is a key tool for us to understand how well we are meeting members' needs and to inform our planning for the year ahead. The survey forms the basis of our performance measures and helps us identify areas for improvement. This year's survey will be delivered online and is structured as usual in 3 parts. Part 1 for all members, one part specifically for overview and scrutiny members, and 1 for Cabinet members. The draft questions are included in Appendix 1 for your consideration, which are, as they stand, aligned to the questions we asked in the previous year. I'd like to invite the committee to review the draft survey, suggest any changes or additions you feel are appropriate and agree its content before we circulate. The feedback we receive will be reported back to this committee so we can consider solutions to any areas of concern. Please note, any additional support requirements identified through the survey will need to be costed and considered within our current resources. If an increase in resources is required, this will be addressed as part of a future budget planning. I welcome your comments and suggestions on the draft survey questions.
Any members got any questions in regard to the report for Tom? Councillor Ashley?
Yeah, I read it. I'm a bit notorious for not filling these things in, but I do try to fill in things. I found this, I do like the idea of choices which I have to do rather than a box which I have to think about, to be quite frank. I've filled a few in lately, and I wonder whether this could be a bit more thought through for members, because I don't know, it does seem lacking in something. I'm not being critical, Tom, for you and your team, but it does seem that when I look at it, we have criticisms of things. We probably have positive responses, which I'd like to. And if you put some more multi-choices in this, rather than us having to think about what we're going to say, it might work a bit better. I've seen some better ones. I'm not, as I said, trying to be overtly critical, but I have seen better questionnaires than this. I'm quite happy to give you my after the meeting. Give you my 12 penneth on this.
That'll be a quid.
Yeah, old-fashioned currency, in other words. No,
Did you want to answer that, Tom?
It is what it is. I also wonder whether the 1 to 5 set, the 1 to 5 is excellent, but there are, but it's the other boxes I don't like very much, to be quite frank.
We'll let Tom come in and see what he says to that. Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Councillor Ashley. I suppose what we've tried to do is mix up the multi-choice, the 1 to 5 about how members feel they're being supported, with the more contextual information which we get from free, including the free text boxes, which are obviously the ones you're not so keen on. But for us, yes, it's easy to do an analysis, a statistical analysis of where members feel satisfied or dissatisfied with their support arrangements from just those 1 to 5s. But unless we have that background information, we can't really get under the skin of what the issues are. So from my point of view, it feels like we do need both, and unfortunately we do need members to to give a bit of thought to what the issues are that they feel they're being confronted with, and how we can support members to overcome them.
What I'm trying to say is, you're expecting us to do a lot of the prose work on this, Whereas if you laid it out a little bit more, I think you get a lot more information. I'll give you an example in the beginning, because I looked at this twice when I was looking at it. Assistance to expense claim forms, completion of members' small schemes, members' room, and general inquiries. I looked at this and I said, what do they mean? What do they want? You left a lot of interpretation there, whereas I suspect expense, they're all different things. I mean, the expense claim forms generally work because we have a lot of assistance from the member support officers, and they kind of help us with that. And that kind of, whereas completion, members' room, how that works is a completely different animal, and general inquiries is a different animal. I think you're lumping a lot of things there. You look at that and say, ooh. Whereas I think maybe they could be done better in the way. As I said, they're different things. As I said, I've outlined that. I think the expense claims forms, for instance, you could say, do you think the help is adequate, inadequate, etc., etc.? I don't know. I do an awful lot of things like this, and I probably spent a lot of time, and I'm probably a bit of a wonk on it. But I think it could help with it. It's the actual form and how members look at it. I mean, get to our favourite one, I'm sure the chair's favourite one as well, computer and IT support. That would be a really good one to go at, wouldn't it, Chair? You see where I'm coming from, Tom? I think they're all equal. I won't belay this point any more than that, but just suggesting some...
Yeah, we'll let Ron come in now, and then we can have a bit of a discussion. So,
Sorry, can I just come back on that one?
Go on in, Tom. I was going to give you a couple rather than coming back and forth.
No, that's okay. I suppose it hasn't helped in that, like I said in my introduction, we will be delivering this survey online, and so what's in the appendix isn't necessarily how it's going to be laid out within the online survey. So that example that you used there, Councillor Ashley, over those 4 separate areas, they would be 4 separate questions, as I understand it, within the survey. So they would require 4 separate answers. I'm glad you think you're well supported on that completion of the members' small scheme. So that should be a straightforward one to respond to. So yeah, like I said, this is a representation of what the survey of the questions that the survey is going to ask. It will look different, obviously, when members receive the link in order to complete the online survey question. Can I just see if... Sorry, Bex is just coming in as well.
Yeah, just to add to that, obviously with respect to the scrutiny questions, it would be very difficult for us to cover everything that we think that you may want to provide in those answers. Obviously, we'd be looking at the scrutiny processes, or for Don, the democratic processes. From an officer perspective, we're not always going to know what you want to feed back to us in terms of a member's need or want from what we're asking you. So I think it would be very difficult for us to cover every scenario within a tick box answer for you. So I think those explanatory boxes are necessary for some of those questions. Sorry.
Okay, Ron, did you want to come in and ask your question?
Yes, it's not a question actually, Steve. It's just I'm happy with the format of it. As Tom just said, it'll be different when it comes through. And as Beck said, there's too much scope there. I mean, as members, there's always the box to add a little bit extra ourselves. Everybody's got their own different opinions on everything. And if that survey, it was too big, I mean, there's too much, can't see the trees for the woods, So there's always that little gap for us to put our little extra on there if we want to. But as a tick box goes, it's fine. And I'm always complimentary of the team and just say, congratulations, Tom, in your new position. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett.
Yeah, that's a credit, Tom. I got a couple of questions. I don't know whether they'll integrate. Stuart, Councillor Ashley is right about the equipment, but it's not always the equipment, it's about the SRS backup. I'm still waiting for outstanding now, months and months later. And the problem is, we can put it on the survey, so where's the info going? Where's the data going? And where's the follow-up from that? I mean, another thing is a members' room. We can write something in there, but it's still, if we're talking confidential stuff in there, we've got people walking in and signing in and doing other things. Now, the members' room, what I was led to believe is for the members. So you've got to be careful having a conversation in the members' room if somebody's coming into work to sign in, you know, to do cleaning or something. So the survey needs to be a bit more in depth with some of the things we're trying to do, because, you know, the other part is how many people would fill that survey out, and if that's going to go in front of the public, then it could be pretty damning, because if there's only a certain amount of us that done it, it's not going to be a true reflection. So there's a couple of you to throw at Tom on your new bit.
With regard to the support from the SRS, as I understand it, they still provide drop-in sessions before every council meeting, so they are still available to members if they have any ongoing IT issues. So that is still there for them. In regards to private space for members, there is a room, again, as I understand it, that is available outside of the members' room if they wish to have any private conversations. And then finally, regarding the take-up of the questionnaire, you're right, that has been a bugbear for us and an issue as regards getting, you know, full member coverage. So we'll be looking to, you know, use every means possible to ensure that we get as many surveys completed this year as possible, and hopefully yourself, Chair, as the Chair of Democratic Services Committee, can help push that for us as well, and help to promote the survey amongst the membership.
Yeah, thank you for Tom for that, but I'll come back. I've been numerous times into SRS before council meetings, and yet I'm still in the same place. It's still not been resolved. It keeps getting battered. Or I'll come back here, we're looking into it. They haven't done anything about it. 6-8 months later, I'm still where I am. So, and that's the point. We're not collating that information. We're just collating that, yes, they're there, but it doesn't mean they're doing anything. So, Councillor Ashley, did you want to come in?
Sorry, just to come back on that. I mean, obviously there is an ongoing issue there. I don't know the details. Probably not the right forum to discuss that. But if you want to pick it up with Democratic Services outside of this meeting, and then we can sort of champion that on your behalf and see if we can get it addressed.
But unfortunately, I'm not the only one. There are other members going through the same thing.
Yeah.
We're usually the same people in the same room. So yes.
But that goes back to why it's so important for as many members to complete the survey as possible. So if we do pick up that trend that there's a significant number of you having issues with the SRS, like Tom said in his introduction, we will form an action plan from the results of these surveys that will be brought back to this committee. And then Tom, obviously now as Head of Democratic Services, will pursue those and will have greater emphasis to be able to take that forward for you. So,
yeah, but the other part of that, Beck, is if there's only so many people who have done the survey, there could be the majority of the people who haven't done the survey could be part of that thing for SRS. So this is where it's not ringing true for me, because it's leaving gaps. So sorry, anyway.
No, and that's but like we said, we can only encourage members to do it, and obviously yourself as chairs this committee, if you could speak to the group leaders and encourage them to ask their members to do it, and stress, you know, that very point that you've just made, that we can't take action until we know what is really affecting members and what they need support with.
Councillor Ashley and then Councillor Burnett.
After my little critique of this, I'm going to be hoisted by my own petard, which I'm quite happy to be. But the communication and results of this, obviously, I was only as good as enough member makers, and I'm reminded that your officers are pretty damn good at getting us to do our payments detail, our small schemes detail, and I think this is probably another one that needs to be put on that same plane. because it's rather important and people want feedback. We need feedback. I suspect the residents out there need feedback about what we're doing. So I think you're very effective when it comes to getting these small schemes one. This is another one that needs to be treated with that level of seriousness. I think you do treat it with that level of seriousness. With that kind of contract in place, we need the issues like the computer, phones and all the rest of it treated, you know, is something it needs urgently doing. For councillors, it's a tool of the trade. And I think this is where the chair gets frustrated. I do to some extent. I have had to come in on my own computer today. I will be ringing SRS today and seeing how effective they are. Thank you very much.
Did you want to come back on that, Tom, or do you want to let Councillor Burnett come in?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I think you've probably both kind of demonstrated why we need those text boxes. We can't just have the, you know, how satisfied are you 1 to 5 with the IT equipment. We need to know exactly what is and isn't working for you, so we can get those issues addressed. So I think that's really all I need to say on that one.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Tom. I totally agree. Councillor Burnett, do you want to come in?
Yeah, any quick one. I mean, SRS is ongoing, it always is. I mean, I have a new computer the other week and it took 3 or 4 days to get done, but they were working at it all the time. It's just a glitch in there, whatever. So we know what goes on and sometimes it takes a while. But I just want to reiterate what Beck just said now. I mean, if we don't fill it in, and how are they to know as a team? So if they don't fill it in, don't come whinging, you know, I'm straightforward. Yeah. If you only work on the information we give them. If you don't give them the information, they're only working what they got. So don't come whinging if you didn't get to fill it in. It's like whoever you vote for. If you don't vote, don't whinge about anybody. And if you don't fill the survey in, don't whinge about what the team can't do. They do. I mean, I always support them fully because they're a good team. But they say it's just just encourage them to fill it in to get the right response to it. That's all.
Yeah. Totally agree, Ron.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, Democratic Service is doing an excellent job for me, personally, and I've already reiterated that. Is there any other questions you want to ask before we look onto the recommendations? Anybody?
No.
Tom, is there anything you wanted to raise? Anything else? Or Bex? Or
I think you've done it for me, to be honest, Chair. I just be grateful if all yourself and all members could push colleagues to complete as many, well, one survey each, as many surveys as possible, so that we can have as full a picture as possible when it comes to drawing up an action plan on the back of the survey. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Tom. I totally agree with you. If nobody's got any other questions, the recommendations are on page 16. I can read them out if everybody wants, or have you read them?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Is everybody in agreement with those recommendations? That's brilliant. That's been carried. So I think that's the only part left now is to arrange the date of the next meeting. It'll be agreed in due course and we will be notified. So thank everyone for your attendance and your contributions. And I'll now close the meeting.
Can you stay on a minute, Steve?